Hello again. I'm Dave Gibson, managing editor of Third Wednesday Magazine, an independent quarterly journal dedicated to poetry, fiction, and visual arts, published both online and in print. This is another in our series of recorded readings by the magazine's contributors who have new books on offer. I am delighted at this time to introduce Nancy Jo Allen. Nancy was born and raised in Minneapolis. She attended Spalding University in Louisville, Kentucky, where she earned a Master of Fine Arts degree in writing with an emphasis on playwriting. She also is a certified and licensed occupational therapy assistant. Her first poetry collection, Wrinkles in Time and in Love 2021, is available through Kelsey Books and from Amazon.com. Nancy's second poetry collection, Wild and Tame, was released on October 4th this year and is now available also at Kelsey and at Amazon. Nancy Jo Allen currently lives in Columbia, Missouri with her husband Terry and their dog Jaden. She is the mother of two daughters and the grandmother of four boys. And now here is Nancy Jo Allen.
Just a second, there's a message here. Okay. Hi, thank you, David, for the introduction. This is from my new book called Wild and Tame, and I've got several things to share with you. The first two poems are written in two parts over things I observed over the last 2 summers in nature in our yard. First one is called Hawk, Part 1. It struck with a thud, but did not break the glass. The oily sheen from its plumage left an impression on the pane that would remain months, and a red shoulder feather rested in the grass. It must have been hunting another rabbit. The entry and egress point was a few feet below that window, and perhaps a foot from the edge of the house where the fence post stood sentinel, guarding the yard and garden from rabbits, excuse me. The tercel cleared the backyard throughout the summer, frustrating our coonhound that loves sniffing out rabbit trails first thing in the morning before relieving himself and wanting breakfast. Bones collected below the nest high in the hackberry tree along the edge of the yard. They bleached white in the sun, stripped clean of meat, tendons, and marrow, and strips of fur collected amid Huchera, hostis, irises, and roses. Rabbits persisted besting the hawk by escaping through that dugout spot, hiding between the house and the hose reel until they could escape into the shrubbery thorns and shelter below the dwarf spruce until the last one fed the hen and eyes. The hawk, Part 2. The sun blocks his shape to a silhouette as he climbs the hackberry, stopping to secure himself and throw his rope yet higher to another branch and support his weight and the chainsaw dangling from his left hip. The broken branch threatens the neighbor's property. Other branches weigh down a substantial limb likely to fall when ice crystals create lacy layers on which snow will stick as the climber saws, when winter rises. As the climber saws, a nest is exposed in which our predator birds resided all summer. The tercel and hen raised eyes they hoped would join the hunting kettle. As the climber ascends, the red-shouldered hawk circles. This is one that I noticed in the news, and I thought it was interesting. So I imagined this scene, and this is what I got. Northwestern wilds. Few had seen such a sight, and townspeople wanted the meat for their sled dogs when they heard the 2 moose died in battle over a female near Unalakleet in northwest Alaska. Antlers locked like dovetailed joints from frozen water dusted with fresh snow like powdered sugar on a Monte Cristo. One giant had pierced the other's skull. Both drowned when they fell into the stream. A taxidermist used a pick and chainsaw to free the ice from their necks, then cut off their heads for an unusual wall mount. This next poem is part of a trilogy that inspired me after Hurricane Harvey. It's called Otis. He pads along the edge of the road, wet with early rain. His reddish fur sheds moisture for now as he takes his cues from humans gathering supplies to ride out the storm. He is known to residents who are easy touches for brown eyes that implore a snack here and there along his daily path. No hand is available for treats this day, so Otis helps himself to a bag of dog chow perched low on a shelf. Jaw, neck, and withers strain as his paws scratch along the tar and sinking and rising water, heading home to shelter under a roof that houses a dry cushion and a dish in need of kibble. My husband and I like to explore a variety of programming, and this one interested me because not only the programming, but my past experience in the field of photography. It's also influenced by my theatrical sense and my creative writing experience as well. It's a persona poem. It's about Matthew Brady, who photographed the Civil War, and he hired help to develop and print. It's called Battlefields to Greenhouses. Brady had a studied eye for subject matter, depth of field, sharp focus, composition, and emotion, we all learned. I knew him first by his reputation for the fact that his photographs won awards. So as war loomed, Mr. Brady photographed the young idealistic Unionist lads of the North for what was, for many, their last living portrait. He told Mr. Lincoln that a spirit in his feet told him to go, and he received permission to chronicle the war. Shutter speeds, being what they were, and war, being what it was, turned Brady's eye to the aftermath of battles, gruesome as they were, and he left the depictions of the battles themselves to canvas painters. He failed his mission in many ways, for he did not document locations, dates, or credit images created. You see, he hired some men, his own army of sorts, and equipped them with traveling darkrooms. Brady put together an exhibit in DC and brought Antietam home. Their corpses told the story. Americans saw the price of war, one that they thought would be brief, and so people did what comes natural. They did not dwell on the horror or the truth. In the end, the government did not buy those inspired visual poems seen through camera lens and scribed on albumin paper from glass plates. They told the story, like any good poetry, through the use of the seen and the unseen and the white spaces. These were sadly beautiful, and Brady was bankrupted. So I did what I could to help him out of his fix and feed his family. I bought some of those glass plates. He practically gave them away. Money is money, food is food, and charity is good for the soul. The plates became my greenhouse panels that trapped moisture that ran like tears on droplets of capillary action down the dead Unionists and Confederates images onto plants below in this, their second deaths. Instead of feeding fields of wildflowers from below, they watered cultivated flowers from above. They watered white anemones like those pure spirits of the dead. They watered irises, straight and tall, heads fallen open, flanked with bayonet leaves, these fleur-de-lis. They watered platoons of orchids, too frail to support themselves without wood. My personal army, I guess. And the sun bleached their images, those plates that held their souls, to ghostly faintness until they disappeared. This one's just a childhood memory. I spent a lot of time alone. In the wings. Caterpillars gathered from milkweed fronds in an empty lot at the end of the block are carefully placed in glass mason jars with lids pierced by nails and hammer to prevent suffocation. Milkweed stalks broken between thumb and index finger, ooze thick, sticky prized nectar for caterpillars with groping mouths that fill their gullets before encasing themselves, hanging upside down from jade chrysalides on a diagonal expanse of twig placed just so. 8 blocks south of our house was home for jumping and flying green grasshoppers, crawling worms that inched up hairy stalks to feed and to become food for scrounging birds with hunting beaks. In a moving microcosm of nature's cycles, advancing in near silence, but for thick-throated chirps burst like gaseous burps released after a satiating meal. This one's a self-explanatory, man versus nature. It's called Fate. The snake rests in the path of her truck, which she wants to back out under the overhead door. It stretches out as thick as her thin wrist, which supports the garden hose. She uncoils toward the sunning creature. The water is icy, and its flow freezes the cold-blooded reptile in place. The woman grabs a shovel, long-handled, from the display on the garage wall. With caution, she scoops up this napper, transports it to the wooded yard behind the garage. She flings the snake deep into the woods where it catches high in a tree. It hangs there, still semi-coiled, the color of aspen branch from which it will warm its cold body and determine its own fate. I was fortunate enough on this trip that my husband and I took, had the luxury of riding shotgun and observing surroundings as we traveled the eastern edge of Missouri on a trip to Oxford, Mississippi. And this is something I noticed. It's called Beneath Missouri's Boot Heel. Miles add up behind us, and those ahead shrink as we travel the dark road along the stretch of highway west of the Mississippi. Our fields of cotton bolls, open like popped corn. The sky is a gray November haze of rain that mutes colors like that of an impressionist subject seen through gentle tears. Fields of long, low expanses of plants are punctuated by their occasional cornstalk that survived rotational farming. Some stand tall, some stoop as though they are picking cotton. Along the road's shoulder grow communities of sumac. It's late fall and many branches are bare, soaked dark with precipitation, exposing arms and fingers of wood raised as if in supplication, topped with seed pods swollen like sore fingers after harvesting by hand. Thinning fronds hang below these prayerful plants, dripping heavy mist like blood. White remnants from nearby harvest have settled atop. This one is the intersection of a dream. I was inspired by the death of a young man with whom my daughters trained for their black belts in karate years ago. He died of an inoperable brain tumor. So it's in memory of Phil. And Ansra, which is the title, means to love for the last time. Ansra. I dreamt I was a nautilus spiral with iridescent interior amid silt and ocean depths, unnoticed but visible to those willing to see me. I felt warm waves caress me as if an infant bathed in amniotic fluids beneath mother's beating heart. My gaze rose to the surface waters where light filtered through green, gauzy, floating plankton. Bodies moved dreamily, slowly rocking, cradling an infant about to drift to sleep. Then I realized families surrounded a young man, buoying him up, baptizing him with waves of love, soft words, low tones, crooned soothingly of his love of water, to be near it, on it, in it, to feel it, purify, quench, renew. Like pallbearers, they surrounded him. They became his eyes, his ears, his lips, his limbs by which to move about and to embrace as each learned to love for the last time, from amniotic womb to saving pools beyond the veil. And this is my last one. It's called Bullhead. I caught the bullhead. My neighbor Edna took it off the hook. I was just a child. Bullhead. She slides her left gloved hand down the length of its thick body, encasing the spiny stingers, as she pulls the swallowed hook with the long handled pliers from deep inside the stomach. Red, stringy blobs of offal hang from the hook. The worm is still attached. She smashes its head on the dock and tosses it to the sandy beach out of reach of foamy waves. She repeats its ritual whenever she catches a bullhead. She knows how to protect herself. Thank you. Again, the book is Wild and Tame. It's available through Kelsey Books, Amazon, and for anybody in the Columbia area, we can also get it at Skylark Books.
Thank you, Nancy Allen, for an enjoyable reading.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. Once again, I'm Dave Gibson from Third Wednesday Magazine, and I'm going to say thanks for now, goodbye, and as always, happy reading. Goodbye.
Thank you.